I don't want to make light of a bad situation here, but whoever's driving this Nissan Sentra pulled in too far to the right and they're now stuck in the car wash. It's kind of inconveniencing, actually. Hey guys, I wanted to make a short video kind of explaining some of the things that I left out of the video that I made regarding the supplies and equipment that we carry in the event of an emergency or something when we're camping in our RV. Now, the supplies that you saw in the bed of my pickup truck, they all fit in this weather guard toolbox. I don't keep them in there all the time, but I keep most of them in there anytime we're traveling, especially when we're towing the RV. Only because I don't want to come across a situation where I have to be stranded for hours waiting for some type of roadside assistance because I can't effect the repair myself. So I keep a lot of equipment in here. One piece of equipment that I didn't pull out and show you in the last video is one that I want to go over right now. And that is this ProLift 12-ton bottle jack. Now, I didn't go over it because it's actually stored in this plastic case right here. And the way I actually use this jack is a little different than some people. So a lot of people have the Anderson wedge, which is essentially a jacking system that uses a curved piece of plastic, and you drive up over it with one of your good tires if you have a tandem axle, and it lifts the bad tire off the ground, thus giving you the opportunity to repair it. But that doesn't work in all cases, mainly because you have to be able to make sure your suspension will actually clear the second tire off the ground. And I've actually heard of instances on rough terrain and rocks where when they pull over that plastic wedge, it cracks. So what I did instead was get this 12-ton bottle jack. Bought it on Amazon a long time ago, but I haven't had to use it yet. But what I do is I had a bunch of scrap wood. I just screwed several pieces together, and the jack in essence would sit on here. These blocks would sit on top, whichever way I want. If I'm going to put it on the frame, I want more surface area making contact with the bottom of the frame. If I'm putting it under the axle, then I'll probably set it like this. And these are just spacer blocks, so that's all I'm looking for. Have the little handle that comes with it. And this is how I would change a flat tire if I had one. I'll lift the axle up, which I think is a better solution than driving over a wedge, simply because when you drive over the wedge, you're going to have your equalizer in between your suspension at a very, very extreme angle to support one tire going way up high and the other tire dropping way down low. So in essence, you have to lift the front tire much, much higher to get the back tire off the ground. And you put a lot of strain on your suspension components by doing that. This is a better solution because I can jack up the single axle that I'm having a problem with just high enough to affect the repair, while at the same time transferring some of the weight to the other tire that's remaining and the majority of the weight on the bottle jack itself. So I hope this answers that question. Now, some people did ask if I carry a first aid kit. I have a first aid kit in here. I have one under the rear back seat. And we also keep two of them in the RV in the event of emergency. One of them in the RV is a much larger kit. Now, a lot of people said that I carry an excessive amount of gear, and that's not necessarily true. Like I said, all the stuff that you saw in the truck fits in my toolbox. All the stuff that you saw in the RV fits in one cabinet up front near the entertainment center, including my drills, my extra batteries, and a plastic box that you saw in the previous video full of all the equipment that I had laid out. So because you pack a bunch of supplies and accessories in the event of an emergency doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to take up excessive amount of space. Now, something I keep quite a few of are these First Alert little portable fire extinguishers. I bought a case of 12 of them, and I keep them just about everywhere. This particular one I keep inside of our golf cart. I keep two of them inside of my truck in the toolbox, one inside of the back box and one under the seat. Just in the event of emergency, I want to have an access. Now, I also keep not a full size, but a smaller, regular style fire extinguisher inside of my truck as well, just in case there's some type of an emergency. And I have these placed all throughout our RV, as well as higher end, larger capacity ones. So I probably have a total of 6 of them in the RV just to be safe. And I keep them in areas where people might be sleeping or might be spending time in the event that a fire breaks out. In the golf cart, I also keep a inflator sealer bottle right here, as well as a patch kit, just in case we have a flat tire while we're out and about. That's actually one thing I know a lot of people don't do in their golf cart. They'll keep everything else in their golf cart, but they won't keep the things that could probably save them from having to walk back or leave their cart stranded. And just real quick to clarify, I do not have a auxiliary transfer fuel tank in the back of my truck. It's simply a 20-inch weather guard toolbox, and I use the Access roll-up bed cover, for the Toolbox equipped truck. So it starts 20 inches back and it gives you this really nice L bracket that butts up against your toolbox and gives you the ability to seal up real well. There are going to be little leaks in some areas. I've put silicone in areas where it might leak. I've sealed up different areas around the bottom of the toolbox as well, just because anytime you're going to try to butt two accessories like this up together, you're going to have little gaps. For the most part, I would say this is 98% sealed. I don't mind keeping things back here that aren't supposed to get wet, mainly because it's sealed up well enough that I really don't worry about it. I'd probably say all the supplies for emergency situations, things like that, added up together would probably equal a total of maybe 120 pounds, if that. As far as the supplies we take just to be prepared with our RV, such as the chocks, as well as the hoses and sewer equipment and all that stuff, I'd say that that probably totals up maybe 100 pounds in weight amongst all of it. And it's probably even less than that. Truck actually got a bath today too, so it's looking really nice. If you recall, this vibration dampener had to be removed when I installed the Ranch Hand Horizon Series bumper on the back of my truck. What you didn't see is that I was unable to reinstall it simply because the bracket for the Ranch Hand bumper will interfere with the area that this is supposed to butt up against. Well, I came up with a fix for that. I found these grade 8 spacers that give me the ability to space it out about 3/4 of an inch away from this bracket, which clears the bracket for the Ranch Hand bumper, and then I used M10 by 1.5 bolts to reattach it. I got longer bolts because of course the factory ones wouldn't fit at that point. I used 10.8 grade bolts, or class 10.8, which is a metric style bolt, and it's the equivalent of a grade 8 bolt. But I used 3 of them to secure this back to the frame of the truck, and it's been working well. Now, the reason why I put this back on is because when this was off, I did pick up some really strange vibrations coming from the chassis when I was going between about 45 and 50 miles an hour, to where you could actually look at the passenger seat and it would be shaking back and forth slightly. Basically almost like a tire was out of round, or if you had an alignment problem. So putting this back on was really crazy because it significantly improved the ride and restored that smoothness. So if you have a vibration dampener on your vehicle, don't let anybody remove it, because this thing really comes in handy and it works well to reduce the vibrations coming from the chassis. Anyways, guys, I hope that clears up some things and answers some of the questions that people had regarding the supplies that we take with us and what else we have. If you like my videos, if you like my channel, I'd appreciate a thumbs up, and if you subscribe. Thanks, everyone.